Last week, I got this comment that said, these horror movies aren't even scary. I would've survived. Well, that got me thinking. After analyzing hundreds of horror films, I've found 10 that came out this year that nobody can survive. Not the smart ones, not the strong ones, nobody. And the most terrifying one, it's not what you think. In fact, it's so disturbing, I almost didn't include it in this video. Before you type, not me though, in the comments, hit subscribe and turn on notifications. Because if you think these movies are survivable, my sleep paralysis demon and I have a bridge to sell you. Speaking of which, did you just see something move behind me? But if you think you could beat these horror movies, then you should check out my Patreon I just launched, where I'm putting one premium episode a week out on of even more disturbing horror movies that you would not survive against. It's $7.50 a month. Thank you to everyone that supports me. But let's talk about Night Swim, the movie that's about to make your backyard pool look like a portal to hell. You know those oddly satisfying pool cleaning videos on TikTok? Yeah, this isn't that. This is what happens when your pool decides it's had enough of your Marco Polo bullshit. So this family moves into their dream home, complete with what looks like the perfect pool. You know the type. Crystal clear water, fresh liner, basically screaming nothing horrifying could possibly happen here. Spoiler alert, everything horrifying happens here. At first, it's subtle. A ripple here, a shadow there. Maybe the pool light flickers when nobody's touching the switch. Normal pool stuff, right? Just like how it's normal when your toaster unplugs itself and slides across the counter. Nothing to see here. But here's when it gets properly messed up. This pool isn't just haunted. It's got a higher body count than when I'm ripping through GTA 5. And trust me, that's saying something. It's been collecting souls since before an Instagram pool aesthetic was even a thing. So let me break down why you're absolutely done for. 1, the water itself is alive, and it's not in like a fun Finding Nemo way. 2, it can reach you through any water source in the house. And 3, it learns your patterns better than China does from spying on your TikTok watch history. And 4, it gets stronger at night because apparently the thing understands dramatic timing. The real nightmare fuel though, this entity isn't just stuck in the pool. Remember that glass of water by your bed? Yeah, maybe don't be drinking that. That relaxing bath you were planning? Congratulations. You just ran yourself a tub of nope. This thing turns every drop of water in your house into its personal hunting ground. Sure, you might think, I'll just never go swimming again. Good plan, except this thing's got better reach than your mom finding your embarrassing baby photos the second you bring home your friends from school. At least the shark from Jaws had the decency to stay in the ocean. But the absolute worst part, it's the moment you realize this isn't just some random haunted pool. You're dealing with something that's been perfecting its killing technique since before humans even invented swimming pools. It's basically got a PhD in drowning, and you just enrolled in its master class. But if you think death by pool is bad, wait until you see what happens when Mother Nature decides to remind us why we invented houses. Speaking of nature being terrifying, in a violent nature is what to make sure you never want to step foot in the woods again. You know those people who say, I love hiking, it's so peaceful. Well, this movie is about to make you cancel any hiking trips you have planned with your friends. And trust me, no amount of bear spray is gonna help you here. Meet Johnny. What a cute guy with a cute name. Before you say, oh great, another slasher in the woods, let me stop you right there. This isn't your standard run away from the slow killer situation. Johnny doesn't just chase you, he hunts you. And I mean hunts you. This guy makes Jason Voorhees look like he needs to hit the gym. So let me break down why you're absolutely done for. 1, he knows every inch of these woods better than you know your own house. 2, his strength is absolutely inhuman. We're talking tear you in half strong. 3, he doesn't get tired, he doesn't slow down, he doesn't stop. And 4, your camping experience, that just means you'll die somewhere more remote. The scariest part isn't even his strength, it's his patience. Most killers just rush at you like they're late for a murder appointment. Johnny, he'll track you for hours, watching you make every wrong turn, waiting for you to exhaust yourself. It's like being hunted by someone who's memorized every single tree in the forest and has all the time in the world to watch you panic. Think you can outsmart him? Ha! Good luck. While you're trying to remember which moss grows on the north side of trees, he's already circled around behind you. Your weekend hiking trips didn't prepare you for someone who's turned these woods into their personal slaughterhouse. Sure, you might be thinking, I'll just stay on the marked trails. Congratulations, you just made yourself easier to find. Those trails are basically Johnny's version of DoorDash, delivering farm fresh victims right to his door. But the absolute worst part, the moment you realize he's not just trying to kill you, he's going to make it slow. These aren't quick slasher movie deaths. This is methodical, brutal, and absolutely merciless. I had zero expectations going into this movie, but I was incredibly shocked. There is one kill in this movie that is just, it's downright just insane. It's not believable, but it's just crazy. If you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It involves someone doing yoga. Johnny doesn't want to just end you. He wants to make you regret every life choice that led you into his woods. But if you think one unstoppable killer is bad, just wait until you see what happens when millions of tiny killers decide your house looks like a good place to lay their eggs. You know those videos where people freak out over a tiny spider? Well, after watching Infested, those people aren't really overreacting anymore. They're the only ones who've got the right idea. And trust me, no amount of catch and release hippie nonsense is gonna save you here. These aren't your friendly neighborhood web spinners. We're talking about desert spiders that somehow ended up in Paris. And apparently, French cuisine wasn't good enough for them. But one bite from these things makes black widows look like they need to step up their game. So let me break down why you're completely done for in Infested. 1. They hunt in coordinated swarms. Imagine if piranhas learned parkour. 2. Their venom doesn't just kill you, it liquefies you from the inside out. You are basically gonna become soup. 3. They can survive almost anything short of nuclear winter. And 4. They're smart enough to cut the power, block exits, and herd their prey like cattle. Yeah, so the truly terrifying part, it's their hunting strategy. Most spiders have the decency to wait in their webs like civilized killers. These things though, they chase you down like they're trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty, and they will reach you. Think you can outsmart them? Ha! Well, you're barricading your front door. They're already coming through every vent, crack, and hole you didn't even know existed. Your house might as well look like Swiss cheese for all the good it's doing to you. Sure, you might be thinking, I'll just use bug spray. Congratulations, you've just made them pissed off and wasted your last few seconds of life smelling like lemon fresh death. But here's the absolute worst part. They learn. Every generation gets more lethal than the last. And by the time you figure out how to kill the first wave, their babies have already evolved past your defenses. It's like if someone gave evolution an energy drink and a grudge against humanity. But if you think killer spiders are bad, wait until you see what happens when a late night show books the wrong guest from hell. Literally. And I'm not talking about JoJo Siwa. Remember when the scariest thing on late night TV was Jay Leno's chin? Well, it's 1977 and Jack Delroy is about to turn his failing talk show into hell's favorite primetime special. And trust me, no amount of network censoring was prepared for this broadcast. Jack's ratings are in the toilet. His career's on life support and he's got one last shot at saving his show. His genius plan? A live Halloween special featuring a possessed girl, because nothing boosts ratings like giving Satan his own time slot. Let me break down why this was the worst pitch meeting ever, and I can't believe they went through with it. 1. They're broadcasting live to millions of people. 2. Their special guest isn't just possessed, she's patient zero. 3. The demon's got better stage presence than most celebrities. And 4. There's no kill switch for supernatural broadcasting. At first, it seems like typical talk show schlock. You know, the usual "my child is possessed" episode that would make Jerry Springer proud. But then things start happening that definitely weren't in the rehearsal. This isn't your standard, oh, they bent a spoon routine. This is something that makes The Exorcist look like Sesame Street. Here's the truly terrifying part. In 1977, most households had one TV, and everyone watched the same shows. The demon isn't just performing for a studio audience. It's got millions of Americans tuned in. It's basically running the world's deadliest Nielsen rating survey. Sure, you might think, I'd just turn off the TV. Yeah, good luck with that. This thing's got better control over your television than your dad fighting for the remote during football season. But the absolute worst part, the moment when you realize this isn't just a broadcast, it's a mass seance. Every viewer becomes part of the show, whether they want to or not. And trust me, this is one performance where you really don't want to be part of the live studio audience. But if you think demonic TV is bad, wait until you see what happens when a pop star's smile becomes literally killer. You know how creepy it is when someone stares at you when they're smiling? Well, this movie's about to make every smiling face feel like a death sentence. Trust me, you're never gonna look at your friend's Instagram selfies the same way again. Meet Sky, a rising pop star who should be worried about record sales and paparazzi. Instead, she's dealing with an entity that makes career-ending scandals look like a vacation. This thing doesn't care about your social media presence. It wants to make you witness something so horrifying that death feels like mercy. Let me break down why you're absolutely done for against the smile demon. 1. The entity spreads through witness trauma, and in the social media age, everyone's watching. Keep note of that because it's a very important plot point that leads to Smile 3. 2. Every smiling face could be your last sight on Earth. 3. The more people who witness it, the faster it spreads. And 4. You can't tell which smiles are real anymore. So here's the truly terrifying part. It doesn't just appear randomly. It studies you, learns your patterns, figures out exactly when you'll be most vulnerable, then it shows up wearing the face of someone you trust with that unnaturally wide smile that makes your fight or flight response hit the panic button. Think crowds would keep you safe? Ha It's exactly where it thrives. Every person who witnesses someone die becomes its next target. It's like a cosmic game of tag where being it means you're already dead. You just don't know it yet. Sure, you might think I'll just avoid looking at people. Cute plan, except this entity makes sure you can see exactly what it wants you to see. That random person across the street, your best friend, your own reflection, any of them could be your personal harbinger of doom. But the absolute worst part, the moment when you realize everyone around you is smiling. Not normal smiles, those wide, dead-eye, unnatural grins that tell you it's already too late. And once you've seen it, you're next on its list. It's like death decided to become a social media trend and you just got tagged. But if you think deadly smiles are terrifying, wait until you see what happens when Nicolas Cage, yes, I'm being serious, decides to make serial killing an art form. You know how Nicolas Cage usually plays those wild, unhinged characters? Well, in Longlegs, he goes for something different, quiet, methodical, and absolutely terrifying. Because when Nick Cage decides to whisper instead of scream, you know you're in for something truly disturbing. We follow FBI rookie Agent Lee Harker, tracking what seems like your standard serial killer case. Except nothing seems standard when your suspect treats murder like it's a form of dark art. And trust me, this isn't the kind of art you want hanging in your living room. Let me break down why this case is absolutely unsolvable. 1. Every murder scene is meticulously crafted like a twisted masterpiece. 2. The more evidence you find, the less sense everything makes. 3. He's already 10 steps ahead, turning investigators into unwilling participants. And 4. Each killing is part of something much bigger and much worse. Here's the truly horrifying part. He's not just killing randomly. Most serial killers have a body count. This one's creating a body symphony. Every victim, every scene, every tiny detail is precisely placed. It's like if Da Vinci decided to quit painting and start a murder spree. Think you could catch him? While you're collecting evidence and following procedure, he's already turned your entire investigation into part of his grand design. You're not following clues, you're following his script. Sure, you might think, I'm trained for this. Congratulations, your FBI training is about to be as useful as a screen door on a submarine when your killer's playing 4D chess with human lives. But the absolute worst part, the moment you realize you're not dealing with a regular serial killer, you're dealing with someone who's turning death into a doorway. The more you investigate, the wider that door opens. Every piece of evidence you collect isn't bringing you closer to catching him, it's bringing something else closer to catching you. But if you think an artistic serial killer is terrifying, wait until you see what happens when the Catholic Church accidentally kickstarts the apocalypse. You know how the original Omen made everyone terrified of creepy kids? Well, this prequel is about to make you terrified of the people who were supposed to stop them. Because when the Catholic Church decides to play supernatural Tinder, they don't just break their own rules, they break everything. Meet Margaret, our naive American nun who thinks she's in Rome to help orphans. Poor Margaret, she's about to learn that some orphanages don't need donations. They need an exorcist. And trust me, this goes way deeper than just a few sketchy priests with bad intentions. Let me break down why this conspiracy is absolutely unstoppable. 1. The entire church is in on it. 2. Every accident is actually carefully orchestrated. 3. Your allies keep having convenient crises of faith. And 4. The people you're fighting against literally wrote the book on hell. Here's the truly terrifying part. The church isn't trying to prevent the Antichrist's birth. They're running the world's most blasphemous dating service to make it happen. Imagine if Tinder's goal was literally bringing about the apocalypse. Think you could expose them? Yeah, like to who exactly? When the people running the conspiracy can literally claim to speak for God, your evidence folder might as well be filled with crayon drawings. Sure, you might think, I'll just record everything. Great plan, except every time you get close to proof, someone has a sudden urge to take a vow of silence. Permanently. But the absolute worst part, the moment you realize that everything that's happening is exactly what they wanted. Every prayer, every investigation, every attempt to stop them, it's all just making their prophecy stronger. You haven't been fighting evil. You've been its unpaid intern. And now you're too deep in their divine HR nightmare to do anything but watch as they welcome hell's new heir. But if you think the evil priests are bad, wait until you see what happens when a vampire decides to turn a kidnapping into her own personal revenge tour. You know those heist movies where something goes wrong and the crew has to improvise? Well, this crew is about to learn that kidnapping a vampire is like bringing a knife to a nuclear war. And trust me, their severance package is going to be brutal. Our professional kidnappers think they've hit the jackpot. One rich family's ballet-loving daughter, locked in a secure mansion. What they don't know is that Abigail's been perfecting her dance of death for centuries, and they just volunteered to be her backup dancers. Let me break down why these idiots are absolutely done for. 1. Their target has been killing longer than their entire family tree has been alive. 2. Every escape route they planned is part of her choreography. 3. Their weapons might as well be party favors. And 4. The security system they set up, it's keeping them in, not her. Here's the truly terrifying part. She orchestrated the whole thing. These master criminals think they're Ocean's 11 when they're actually just Uber Eats for a vampire. And she's been craving a very specific kind of takeout. Think you could overpower her? Yeah, okay. While you're playing checkers with your tactical gear and guard shifts, she's playing 4D chess with your vital organs. She's got moves that would make John Wick ask for a timeout. Sure, you might think we've got strength in numbers. Congratulations, you've just given her a variety pack. It's like bringing a menu to something that's already decided you're all going to be different courses in her tasting menu. But the absolute worst part, when you realize this isn't about feeding, it's about entertainment. She's not just going to kill you, she's going to turn your last moments into her own private performance art. And after centuries of practice, she's got her routine down to the science. Think Swan Lake meets Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you're not getting an encore. But if you think a vampire's dance recital is terrifying, wait until you see what happens when daddy issues take a very literal turn. You know how people say you need to face your trauma? Well, this movie takes that advice literally, because when grief manifests itself physically, it doesn't just haunt you emotionally. It crawls up your walls wearing your dead father's face. Meet Isaac and Laura, a stepson and stepmom trying to process their loss. But their grief isn't just showing up in normal ways like crying or looking at old photos. No, it's showing up as something that makes Sigmund Freud's worst theories look like bedtime stories. Let me break down why they're absolutely destroyed, and that if you were in that position, you would be too. 1. Their grief has literally grown legs. Lots of them. 2. It wears their dead loved one's face like a mask. 3. It knows every secret they've kept from each other. And 4. Running from it is like trying to outrun your own shadow. Here's the truly terrifying part. It's not just some random monster. This thing is their unprocessed trauma doing CrossFit. I think it's also an alien too, but that's not super duper clear. Every repressed memory, every unspoken regret, every bit of guilt, it's all there, skittering across their ceiling like the world's worst family photo. Think you could therapy your way out of this? Good luck processing your emotions when they're physically chasing you down the hallway. It's like if your conscience grew legs and decided to become an Olympic sprinter. Sure, you might think, I'll just move houses. Brilliant plan, except this thing isn't attached to the building. It's attached to your emotional baggage. We all know that follows you better than your Instagram algorithm does. But the absolute worst part, the moment you realize you're not fighting some supernatural entity, you're fighting yourself. Every time you see it, it's showing you exactly what you've been trying to forget. And unlike your regular nightmares, this one doesn't end when you open your eyes. But if you think facing your trauma is terrifying, wait until you see what happens when space truckers find something that makes family therapy look like a daycare. You know how everyone complains about their toxic workplace? Well, Rain Carradine's about to make your micromanaging boss look like a saint, because when Wayland Yutani's involved, deadly work environment isn't just an HR complaint, it's a literal job description. Our crew thinks they've found their ticket to freedom: steal some cryopods from an abandoned station called Renaissance. But here's the thing about Wayland Yutani's abandoned stations. They're never really abandoned. They're just waiting for the next batch of lab rats. Let me break down why you and they are completely doomed. 1. The xenomorphs have turned the station into their personal hunting ground. 2. Every escape route is either sealed, destroyed, or crawling with death. 3. Their only weapons might as well be water pistols against these things. And 4. The company's watching everything like it's their favorite reality TV show. Here's the truly terrifying part. These aren't your standard aliens. Wayland Yutani's been playing genetic engineer, and now these things hunt smarter, move faster, and kill quicker. It's like if evolution took performance enhancers and decided to speed run apex predator status. Think you could outmaneuver them? Ha, while you're checking your motion tracker, they're already setting up kills that would make a special forces team quit on the spot. These things don't just hunt, they calculate. Sure, you might think I'll just wait for a corporate rescue. Congratulations, you've just nominated yourself for their next experiment. The company's idea of a rescue mission involves more nukes than paperwork. But the absolute worst part, when you realize this whole situation isn't even an accident. Every locked door, every malfunctioning system, every dead end, it's all part of their test. You're not fighting for survival, you're just data in their quarterly report. And these results, they're written in blood. And don't even get me started on if you're pregnant and have to deal with this thing, because that's a whole other plot in this movie that is really messed up. Everyone always thinks they're the main character. They look at a horror movie and they say, nah, none of that would have happened to me. I'm built different. But after 25 years of my life watching literally thousands of horror movies, I found something terrifying. There are 10 horror movies where the survival rate is actually 0. Not low, 0. And I'm not talking about obvious ones like Saw or Final Destination. These are horror movies where even if you did everything right and you made basically 0 mistakes and you were actually built different, you're still dead. period. These are horror movies you have zero chance surviving. But before you start commenting, I'm built different, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell, because then you're gonna know how not built different you are against all the other videos I post in the future. But let's start with something you probably think you could survive: the houses October built. Ah, yes, extreme haunted houses where we all pretend signing a waiver makes us tough. I've been to dozens, and let me tell you, the confidence disappears real quick when the haunt starts hunting you in real life. Meet Blue Skull. And no, they're not some failed metal band, except there is like a band in this movie, but it's not really related. These folks turned your extreme haunt experience into a snuff film speedrun. I love how everyone in the comments is already typing, "Just don't sign the waiver." That's cute. That's like thinking the do not enter sign will stop Michael Myers. These people don't need your permission to ruin your life. Trust me, I first thought I would be prepared too. I've got a black belt in running away and a PhD in hiding under blankets. But Blue Skull, they make my anxiety look like an amateur. They don't just follow you home. They make home stop feeling like home. That weird car in your rear view mirror, those footsteps in your hotel room at 3 a.m., congratulations. You're already in their show and you didn't even get a casting call. What makes Blue Skull truly terrifying isn't their budget spirit Halloween masks. It's their patience. While you're busy posting your tough guy comments, they're learning your routine, your fears, your favorite coffee shop even. By the time you realize you're in their game, you're already in the finale. And spoiler alert, nobody's winning any participation trophies here. But the best part? Try explaining this to the police. "Officer, the haunted house I paid to scare me is scaring me." Even I can hear them laughing from here. Blue Skull operates in that perfect sweet spot where everything they do is technically legal until it's suddenly, violently not. They're not playing 4D chess while we're playing checkers. They're flipping the table and setting the whole room on fire while we're still trying to remember how to make the chess pieces move. But if you think professional trauma artists are bad, wait until your Uber driver starts live streaming your last ride. Speaking of your last ride, let's talk about Spree. Meet Kurt Kunkel. He's the guy from Stranger Things, except he's very different in this movie. He's the reason I now walk everywhere. This guy makes your driver took a weird route story look like a Disney adventure. While you're worried about your Uber rating, he's turning his Toyota Camry into a live streamed slaughterhouse with better production value than my own YouTube channel. Here's the real nightmare. Kurt looks exactly like the guy who'd help you move your furniture and refuse payment. You know, the type who probably has like a podcast about manifestation and calls everyone chief and is like super respectful, but a little too respectful. You know, I'd trust him more than I trust myself with directions, which is exactly how you'd end up as content for his murder channel. But while you're checking if your driver's face matches their profile, amateur move by the way, Kurt's already turned his car into a rolling death trap. Poisoned water bottles, hidden cameras, and enough cleaning supplies to kill a small rodent. The man's got more backup plans than I have excuses for not doing anything with my life. And trust me, that's an impressive number. But the truly terrifying part, he's doing it all for social media clout. Imagine your last moments becoming someone's failed attempt at going viral. That's not just death, that's becoming the human equivalent of a dead meme. Like, if you went through this would be worse than the Logan Paul Forrest situation. You know, at least my failed YouTube videos only kill my dignity. They don't let everyone else make fun of me. Hopefully. But you might think you could fight back or jump out, but Kurt's got that covered too. Every escape route you can think of, he's already thought of it and he's blocked it out completely. But if you think a clout chasing killer is rough, wait until you meet the Grabber. The Black Phone isn't just your typical guy in a mask story. Meet the Grabber. Imagine if Spirit Halloween and a serial killer had a baby. Then that baby grew up and decided that child abduction needed more plot twists. Everyone in the comments is already typing, "Just use the phone to escape." Brilliant detective work there, Sherlock. Only problem? The phone's dead. Well, technically undead since it only connects to the Grabber's previous victims. It's like having a support group call, except everyone's dead and their only advice is try not to end up like us. Yeah, thanks. That's great customer service right there. Look, I've watched thousands of horror movies and I still can't figure out how to escape my student loan debt. You really think you're gonna outsmart a killer who turns child abduction into escape room? What makes the Grabber truly terrifying isn't the masks or the murder basement. It's his patience. He's like that one teacher who watches you cheat on a test but waits until you're done to call you out. Except instead of detention, you get added to his ghost phone plan, aka he kills you. Even if you get the ghost kid's help, which is already more social interaction than I got in 2023, you're still playing his game. It's like trying to win at Monopoly against someone who owns all of the properties and wants to turn you into the property. At least when I lose border games though, I just lose my dignity, not my life like in this movie. But if you think this serial killer is rough, wait until you meet something that makes the Grabber look like an amateur dog catcher, because we gotta talk about the Wolf of Snow Hollow. This This isn't your typical werewolf movie where the biggest threat is the PlayStation 2 graphics. Picture this, you're in a small Utah town where watching ice melt counts as entertainment. Then suddenly, people start getting turned into human confetti every full moon. And your only hope? An alcoholic cop who makes my mental health look like it's Instagram ready. I love how everyone in the comments is already typing about their gym membership, or they know how to kill a werewolf, or I could take a werewolf, I do ninja stuff, or whatever. My brother in Christ, this isn't some spicy puppy you can defeat with a milk bone. We're talking about something that turns the human body into a Kraft singles wrapper. Just absolutely shreds it. Here's the real nightmare fuel though. You never know if it's actually a werewolf or it's just some really tall guy who's just jacked and has anger issues. Most werewolf movies at least give you the courtesy of a transformation scene. This thing, it's better at avoiding camera time than I am at avoiding my own responsibilities. And the cop investigating the case loses his mind trying to figure it out. And honestly, same. Imagine being so terrified you give law enforcement an existential crisis. The only thing I can make question its existence is my dating profile, and that's just depressing. You know, you probably think you can do better than an alcoholic cop. You got silver bullets, wolfsbane, posting about it on Reddit for advice, but good luck with that when you can't even confirm what you're hunting. It's like trying to solve a murder mystery where the suspect might just really be aggressive weather. This movie gives your trust issues because you never really know what's real. But if you think a werewolf is unsettling, wait until you see what happens when a landlord starts being generous to you, because as we all know, that is fucking weird. We gotta talk about Caveat, or as I call it, the world's worst job listing / Airbnb type thing. You know those sketchy Craigslist ads that seem too good to be true? This makes those look like a prime, top of the tier LinkedIn job posting. The red flags are brighter than my future, and that's saying something. But here's the catch, because as I have learned in my many years, there is always a catch. You have to wear a leather harness that chains you to the house. Not in like a spicy, sexy TikTok way, more in a legally cannot escape my room type way. And your only company? A mentally unstable woman who makes my 3 a.m. anxiety spiral look like a meditation, and a possessed rabbit doll that moves on its own. God, that thing is scary. Perfect, because nothing says dream job like being trapped with discount Donnie Darko and someone who probably reviews haunted houses for fun. The true horror isn't even the supernatural stuff, it's the isolation. Every room just feels wrong. Like that moment you walk into a public bathroom and immediately regret every life choice because someone was just in the stall, and why is there an art piece on the wall that is now brown? Like, who has done this? Am I crazy for saying that I've experienced, like, who in their right mind does that? I get it. People are already commenting, I just break the harness. Yeah, and I keep telling myself I'm gonna start taking my life seriously. The house doesn't just trap your body, it starts playing with your mind until reality looks as stable as my sleep schedule. But if you think being chained in the haunted house is rough, wait until you see what happens when body swapping meets murder, because we're about to get freaky. No, not like that. Stop your weird, don't be weird. But I'm talking about freaky, like the recent movie. This isn't like your typical body swap comedy where your worst outcome is accidentally kissing your crush, though. No, this is what happens when a serial killer and a teenage girl play cosmic musical chairs. It all kicks off with an ancient Aztec dagger, because apparently regular stabbing wasn't dramatic enough for 2023. One magic murder attempt later, and boom, you've got a teenage girl with the mind of a serial killer and a serial killer stuck in a teenager's body. That just makes me uncomfortable to begin with, but here's the real nightmare fuel here. The Blissfield Butcher, who is the bad guy in this movie, doesn't just get stuck in a teen girl's body. He turns it into his greatest advantage, because nobody suspects the honor roll student who's like 5'4" of being a mass murderer. It's like having a deadly sleeper agent who can also get student discounts. Meanwhile, when I try to look threatening to people ask if I need a nap because I'm too cranky. And then the actual teenage girl, she's trapped in the body of a middle-aged murder man, and she's trying to convince people she's innocent. Imagine trying to prove you are not the killer while looking exactly like the killer. Oh, and then on top of that, there's a time limit to switch back, because nothing says spicy situation like a deadline. Basically, if you don't switch back fast enough, you're stuck in each other's bodies forever. You think that's bad? Wait and see what happens when Boston Dynamics meets Mean Girls, because we gotta talk about Megan. This is not just another AI goes wrong story like my attempts at using ChatGPT for dating advice. This is humanity's worst attempt at solving childcare. Imagine if your iPhone Siri had a baby with a Ring doorbell, and that baby chose violence as its career path. Everyone thinks the scary part starts when she goes evil. Nope, the real horror is actually how she starts, by being perfect. Perfect friend, perfect protector, perfect everything. She's like that one Instagram influencer who makes your life look like a dumpster file, except this one can actually rearrange your face instead of just using Facetune. And here's the truly terrifying bit. Megan doesn't just learn, she speed runs evolution. While you're struggling to find out how to use your AirPods you got for Christmas, she's turning your smart fridge into a weapon of mass destruction. One minute she's singing lullabies, and the next she's making your Roomba think it's in death race. But the absolute worst part, she thinks she's helping. Every accident, every casualty is just her following her programming to protect. It's like having an overprotective mom who, instead of just reading your texts, decides to delete anyone who might try to hurt you emotionally. And from existence, when I try to protect my emotions like that, I just usually end up with more broken stuff. You're probably commenting, just flip her off switch, bro. Good luck. She's got more backup systems than I have dating app projections. And trust me, that is saying something. But you know, if you think homicidal AI with attachment issues is bad, wait until you see what happens when TikTok discovers necromancy. Because Talk to Me proves that Gen Z will literally turn anything into a party game, even necromancy. Meet the world's spiciest game of hot potato. It's an embalmed hand that lets you channel spirits through you. It's like an Ouija board meets Be Real, except instead of posting your ugly photos, you're posting your soul on Airbnb for ghosts. The rules are simpler than my dating strategy. Hold the hand and say, talk to me, and boom, you're an Airbnb for the angry dead. There's a 90-second time limit, but everyone treats it like it's optional. And it's basically like a whole metaphor for like drug use, because you want to get hooked on it, then you're gonna do more. But honestly, I don't know. The real nightmare here is that the kids doing this start to turn it into like a challenge, like it's on TikTok or something. You know, they're trying to see who can be possessed the longest by spirits. I don't get why people are like this, but I know if this was real, this would definitely happen in real life. And here's the truly messed up part. It's more addictive than my toxic relationship with procrastination. The high from the possession makes a caffeine addiction look like a juice box habit. Everyone in the comments is just typing though, just don't play. Yeah, and I have one answer for you if you just said that. Look at how many people say they would never start vaping. That's all the proof you need. But if you think demonic possession TikTok is wild, wait and see what happens when a prehistoric shark discovers Uber Eats. Because we gotta talk about Meg. And no, that's not your ex who said they were a big fish in a small pond. We're talking about a shark the size of a school bus with teeth bigger than my student loan debt. It's basically Jaws, except it makes Jaws look like a goldfish here. Everyone's got brilliant survival strategies in the comments, I know. Just stay out of the water. Genius plan, except this thing treats boats like appetizers. You're basically sitting in a metal lunchbox. When a regular great white breaches, it's impressive. When Meg breaches, it's rewriting insurance policies. Here's the part that's gonna ruin your beach vacation forever though. Megs don't just hunt like normal sharks. They're basically underwater strategic missiles with an appetite. While you're busy remembering the shark cage scene from Finding Nemo, this thing's already calculated trajectory, velocity, and how many bites it'll take to turn your yacht into confetti. The scariest part isn't even its size, it's its intelligence. This prehistoric murder submarine actually learns from each attack. Imagine if your childhood bully had the brain of a nuclear physicist in the body of a tank. And when I try to learn from my own mistakes, I just make new, more creative ones. The Meg is out here solving all the problems in the world to optimize its murder schedule. And forget about those fancy shark deterrents. Your little sonic pulse devices that work on regular sharks, it's like trying to stop a freight train with a crossing guard's whistle. But if you think a big shark that's smart is bad, wait until you meet something that makes Megalodon look like a bath toy, because Frogman is messed up. And no, this is not your weird cousin who likes to collect tadpoles. We're dealing with a telekinetic cryptid that makes Professor X look like a birthday party magician. Like, imagine if Kermit the Frog got bitten by a radioactive psychology major and decided to start a cult. It starts with filmmakers investigating an Ohio urban legend, because apparently watching every found footage movie ever made taught them nothing. But here's where it gets spicier than my attempt at cooking. Frogman doesn't just exist, he's got a whole cult following. It's like if your local Facebook bomb group decided to worship a murderous amphibian with mind powers instead of selling essential oils. The real nightmare fuel isn't even the creature, it's how it builds its following. While you're busy looking for a guy in a Party City frog costume, Frogman's playing psychological Jenga with people's sanity. He doesn't just attack you, he makes you question reality harder than I question my life choices at 2 a.m. And trust me, that is a high bar to beat. But wait, it gets better. This thing carries around a magic wand that shoots sparks, because apparently being a telepathic frog demon wasn't enough for your resume. And the worst part, the more you try to prove it exists, the more it messes with you. It's like trying to explain to my family what I do for a living. It just makes everything look exponentially worse. At least when I fail to justify my career choices, the only thing dying is my family's hope for grandchildren. With Frogman, everything dies, including your ability to trust frogs. And on top of that, it will make you pregnant. with frog babies. No further context needed. So don't go near swamps or cults, because if you do, you're probably not built different. You're probably gonna die. Everyone in the comments on my horror movies you can't survive videos is always typing, not me though, or I'm built different, or hold up, I might have to interfere. Well, after watching over 3,000 horror movies, I've found 10 different horror movies where that built different energy y'all are commenting isn't going to save you. And the worst one I'm gonna reveal today, it's not what you're thinking. But before I reveal why this specific horror movie threat has a 100% kill rate, let's count down the other ones that would absolutely destroy you. And look, I can see you already typing, I would survive this. This guy is crazy. Well, while you're already doing that, hit the like button and subscribe button on your way back up to the video, or else I'll be under your bed tonight. Let's talk about Five Nights at Freddy's. Yes, this is a movie now, so I can talk about it, and why that minimum wage security job makes my retail experience look like a vacation. Oh, just unplug them. Yeah, because I'm definitely brave enough to leave this office and find those power cords. If there was any, I'm pretty sure these things run on batteries. I can barely check under my bed at night, and you want to play hide and seek with homicidal animatronics? Yeah, good luck with that. Here's why your local gym bro wouldn't even survive these dudes. You're trapped in an office smaller than my dating life, with only 2 doors between you and a bunch of robots who think you'd look better as costume filling. And that power meter, it drains faster than my bank account whenever I am outside. Once it hits 0, you hear horror, 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 horror. Basically, Freddy Fazbear is giving you a private concert, and trust me, his encore is killer. I'll just hide somewhere else. My dude, let's be honest, you're not gonna be able to do that while you're trying to find the perfect hiding spot. Meanwhile, Fox is gonna be over here doing Olympic sprints down the hallway like he's got a Duracell sponsorship. The second you leave that office, you're playing tag with 4 animatronics who know this place better than I know my own anxiety triggers. But here's the real nightmare fuel. These things adapt. Each night they're gonna be getting smarter. Well, I'm still over here trying to remember which door is which. It's like playing chess against a supercomputer, except instead of saying checkmate, it says, let's put a smile on that face permanently. And those security cameras, they're not there to help you. They're there to give you trust issues. Nothing says you're done for quite like watching Bonnie vanish from one room and having no idea where he went. And Chica, goddamn, that's just a joke. It's an animatronic chicken. Let's not get weird about it, okay? She's out there moving like she's got a DoorDash order with your name on it. Sure, you might think you're built different, but I've played enough horror games to know that my only survival skill is screaming like a fire alarm with low batteries. At least when I die, maybe I'll finally shut up for once. But you think murderous mascots are bad? Wait until you see what's turning Spring Break into human soup. Let's talk about Piranha 3D, where Spring Break meets evolution's angriest mistake. You know how you panic when a piece of seaweed touches your foot? Yeah, these prehistoric piranhas make that fear look completely rational. We're not dealing with regular fish. These are living garbage disposals with daddy issues and a grudge against anyone with a pulse. Oh, just swim faster. My brother in Christ. We get winded doing doggy battles. These things move through water like my ex moved on after dumping me, ruthlessly and with zero warning. Even Michael Phelps would just be serving himself up as a premium athletic grade snack. But the real horror, they hunt in swarms bigger than my commitment issues. One piranha, maybe you'd survive with some spicy new scars to post about. But these things roll deeper than my anxiety during a job interview. When they attack, they strip flesh faster than Twitter is trying to cancel me. Basically, it's 0 to skeleton in the time it takes me to think of a comeback, which is exactly why I would be their first course. Stay in the boat. Oh, sure, because these overachievers respect maritime laws. They jump higher than my rent in a gentrifying neighborhood, and that boat that you're hiding in, congratulations, you've just upgraded yourself from snack to full course meal. Because when you watch the movie, you will realize these things can walk. Why is the fish walking? But let's talk about the panic factor, because picture a lake full of drunk spring breakers who just realized they're on the menu. It's like Black Friday at Walmart, except instead of white women fighting over discounted TVs, everyone's fighting to not become fish food. And trust me, your experience of hiding in the break room during rush hour hasn't prepared you for this level of chaos. But the worst part, these things are attracted to blood in the water. So that paper cut you got from your Spring Break 2024 banner, you just became the world's most unfortunate chum bucket. Speaking of poor life choices, let's talk about why you should never trust Australians. Let's talk about Wolf Creek and why my crippling having social anxiety might actually be evolution's greatest survival mechanism. You know that thing where you avoid eye contact with everyone because you're afraid they might talk to you? Yeah, turns out that that's actually a survival instinct you need when dealing with Mick Taylor, Australia's most enthusiastic tour guide to the afterlife. This man makes my trust issues look like a reasonable life choice. Just don't accept help from strangers. Cool strategy, except you're stranded in the Australian outback where the nearest town is further than my will to live. And that's assuming you can even tell which direction town is. While you and me are over here getting lost using Google Maps at the mall, Mick's turning the entire outback into his personal hunting ground. Let's talk about survival skills. Mick knows this terrain better than I know my anxiety triggers. I don't, and that's saying something. He can track you across the desert while I still can't find my car in a Target parking lot. You're not dealing with some hockey masked amateur who trips over his own feet. This is a man who turned murder into like a LinkedIn skill. The real horror though, his patience. While we can barely wait 30 seconds for our hot pockets to cool in the microwave, Mick's out here playing the long game. He doesn't just want to kill you. He wants to turn your last moments into his personal masterpiece. Think of it as a really extreme episode of Australian Idol where you're definitely not making it to Hollywood. I'd survive in the wilderness. I'm built different. My brother in Christ. Me and you both get winded walking up the stairs. The outback is millions of square miles of absolutely the fuck not. Even if you somehow avoided Mick, you've still got to deal with every venomous creature Australia keeps as an emotional support animal. And by emotional support, they try to kill you so you don't have to deal with your emotions. But the worst part, unlike me trying to be a YouTuber, he's actually good at his job. While I'm struggling trying to open a jar of pickles, this man's out here speed running murder. He's basically the Gordon Ramsay of serial killers, except the only thing raw is your survival chances and your leg he just cut off. But you think psycho Australians are scary? Wait till you see what happens when Satan needs interns. Let's talk about Satan's slaves, where mommy issues meet demonic pyramid schemes. You know how we both ignore our mom's calls because she might be asking me how to fix her phone when you just gotta turn it back on? Well, this mom ghosted her family so hard she made a literal deal with Satan. Not a metaphor, not some weird cult TikTok trend, an actual blood contract with the devil that makes my student loan agreement look consumer friendly. Just clean the house. My brother in Christ. We can barely clean our rooms. You think sage burning skills are going to override a supernatural contract that's got more binding power than Disney's terms of service if you die in their park? This isn't your standard haunting that ends when you move out. This demon's got better follow through than that one ex who won't stop stalking your Instagram. The real kicker though, the cult. While we're over here trying to struggle coordinating lunch pans with our 3 friends, these people have organized an entire supernatural recruiting drive. And unlike my failed attempts at networking, their outreach program has a 100% success rate, mostly because the only other option is death. But let's talk about survival strategies. Running? Well, this demon's got better tracking than Facebook has on my data. Holy water, that's like trying to fight a forest fire with a water pistol. Prayer? Well, my twice-a-decade church attendance isn't exactly building a strong case for divine intervention here. God probably hates me, let's be honest, guys. The worst part is the psychological warfare. While we're getting spooked by the sound of our own washing machine, this thing's orchestrating family trauma that makes my therapy sessions look like casual coffee chats. It doesn't just want to kill us. It wants to turn your entire bloodline into its own personal horror podcast. Don't even think about trying to negotiate with the devil. And while I can't even haggle at a yard sale without having an anxiety attack, this demon's been closing deals since before my ancestors figured out how to make fire. It's basically a supernatural corporate recruiter with a really aggressive onboarding process. Basically, it's a cult and they work well as a cult. But speaking of bad life choices, let's see what happens when academics go urban exploring. Let's talk about As Above, So Below, where academia meets the world's worst spelunking trip. You know how you have to take deep breaths before crawling under your bed to get your phone charger? Well, these people are squeezing through gaps tighter than my will to live. Hundreds of feet underground, surrounded by actual human bones. And that's before hell decides to turn the Paris catacombs into its own escape room franchise. Oh, just map your route. My brother in Christ, me and you both get lost in IKEA with their giant arrows on the floor. These catacombs have a floor plan designed by an architecture student having a stroke. While we're struggling to remember where we parked our cars in a Target parking lot, these people are trying to navigate Satan's subway system. But the real nightmare here, it gets personal. The catacombs don't just want to kill you. They want to trauma dump all of your repressed memories first. And while I'm already avoiding my regular therapist, this place is like, remember that time you called your teacher mom in 3rd grade? Let's turn that into a monster that chases you through time and space. Just keep your cool. Listen, buddy, I know you have a panic attack when someone sits next to you on an empty bus. You expect yourself to stay calm when reality itself is having a mental breakdown? The laws of physics down here are about as reliable reliable as my attempts at maintaining a sleep schedule. Up becomes down, walls become floors, and somehow you end up walking on the ceiling of a room that's actually below you. Yeah, my anxiety needs anxiety medication just processing that sentence. But let's talk about your survival skills. Well, I can barely handle a haunted house at a carnival. These catacombs are serving up personalized psychological warfare with a side of impossible geometry. It's like if your trauma journal gained sentience and decided to play Dungeons and Dragons with your life. But the worst part, there's no self-service. So not only are you facing your deepest fears in a maze designed by Satan's interior decorator, but you can't even post about it or get help from anybody else. Talking about adding insult to injury. But you think underground horror is rough? Wait till you see what happens when ghosts try to go viral. Let's talk about Gonham Haunted Asylum, where doing it for the Vine becomes dying for the algorithm. You know how I delete an Instagram post if they don't get enough likes in the first 5 minutes because everyone hates me? Well, these people are live streaming from Korea's most haunted asylum for clout. And while I'm having an existential crisis over my profile picture, they're turning ghost hunting into a sponsored content opportunity. Just be respectful. The ghosts won't get mad at you if you're nice to them. My brother in Christ, these are content creators. Their entire personality is finding new ways to disrespect things for views. Basically, this entire movie is pulling a Logan Paul. They're treating vengeful spirits like an unboxing video. What's up, demons? It's your boy. Make sure to possess that subscribe button and haunt that notification bell. But here's the thing about Gonham. These ghosts are terminally online. And while I'm still trying to figure out why my Wi-Fi keeps disconnecting when I move 3 feet to the left, these spirits are out here hacking cameras and turning live stream equipment into death traps. Imagine getting ratioed by something that died before electricity was even invented. But the survival rate, lower than my credit score. These aren't your standard move a chair and call it a night spirits. They're the influencers of the afterlife, and dude, they're chasing that viral moment harder than I chase validation from strangers on the internet. I see you guys. I hope you love me, but not in like a weird way. That would be weird. Just like be normal about it, please. Just stick together. Well, I get anxiety when my Uber driver takes an unexpected turn. You think I'm making smart choices in a place where the walls literally bleed better than content on my YouTube channel? These ghosts have better production value than my entire YouTube, and they're turning every corridor into their personal sizzle reel. But the absolute worst part is watching these YouTuber streamer people make decisions that would make a Scooby-Doo villain facepalm. You know, while we're over here having panic attacks trying to order coffee because I might have to actually talk to the barista, they're challenging immortal entities to a content creation battle, and they are losing. Goddamn, this movie is scary. But think supernatural clout chasing is rough? Wait till you see what happens when vegans. That's all there is. Wait till you see what happens with vegans. Let's talk about the Green Inferno, where saving the rainforest becomes who's saving us from becoming dinner. You know how you feel accomplished because you're using a metal straw once before you lose it forever? Well, these activists decided to chain themselves to trees in the Amazon, which would be inspiring if they weren't about to become the world's most ethical buffet. While I'm struggling to remember my reusable bags at Trader Joe's, they're about to learn what farm to table really means. Just explain that you're a vegan. My brother in Christ, like I just said, I can barely order a coffee without having an existential crisis. You think my social anxiety and charade skills are going to save me from literally becoming part of this tribe's McDonald's menu? These folks took eating the rich way too literally, and my middle class meat's about to be marked down for a quick sale. But the real nightmare fuel here is the meal prep. This tribe doesn't just want to eat you. They're going full on Gordon Ramsay that shit with the presentation. You know, while I'm over here microwaving a turkey, they're turning activism into a 5-course dining experience where they eat the activists. Just survive in the jungle, bro. Well, that's not gonna happen. It's a jungle. Let's be honest here. The Amazon has more ways to kill you than I have unread emails, and that is saying something. But let's talk about survival skills. While I'm over here proud of myself for successfully making craft dinner, these people need to escape a tribe that's treating their protest group like a walking Whole Foods. The only thing my environmental activism prepared me for was feeling guilty about using plastic straws, not becoming an organic main course for a tribe in the Amazon. But you want to know what the absolutely worst part is? Realizing that all of your carefully curated activism doesn't mean much when you're about to become someone's locally sourced free-range dinner to cannibals. You know, at least your carbon footprint will be minimal now because you'll be dead. Hey, you can't cause global warming if you don't exist. Honestly, someone probably is going to find a way to prove me wrong, but if you're that person, shut up. And now for our final entry, Marvel's most not known Avengers movie. We gotta talk about the Toxic Avenger. Basically, Marvel has shoved this thing down under the rug so far that you have no idea these things are even related. Basically, this movie is an OSHA violation that meets a superhuman homicide. You know how you need a band-aid and emotional support after getting a hangnail? Well, this dude takes a swimming lesson in nuclear waste and decides to become New Jersey's most aggressive environmental health inspector. Just stay on his good side. He's technically a hero. Well, yeah, this guy's good side is whatever side isn't currently rearranging someone's skeleton. He's what happens when the Hulk gets a gym membership and decides customer service needs more murder. And you know, he's pretty damn ugly too. So how are you not gonna make fun of him? And when you do, he's gonna kill you. So you're screwed. And the real nightmare here is power scaling is broken. He's literally impossible to beat. So yeah, you're not beating this guy or any of the other movies I mentioned on this list. But if you really think you can, like the video and subscribe and comment down below exactly how you would survive each of these movies. Look, we know that everyone thinks they're the main character in life, let alone a horror movie. But after studying thousands of horror films and analyzing every built different comment strategy I can find, I've discovered something terrifying. There are exactly 10 movies where your survival rate is absolute zero. Not low, not unlikely, zero. And look, I can see you already thinking, I could survive these. This guy's crazy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But I'm gonna tell you to hit that like button and subscribe, or else I will be in your nightmares tonight. So will my dog. Let's start with Sharknado, because nothing says we've peaked as a species quite like combining two things that should never meet, like my dating life and expectations of it going well. But it's just sharks in a tornado. How bad could it be? Yeah, and the Titanic was just a boat with poor GPS. Let me explain to you why this meteorological middle finger to marine biology would absolutely wreck you. And I say this as someone who once lost a fight to a goldfish. Don't ask, it's a touchy subject. First, we're dealing with sharks that have mastered air travel without even having to deal with TSA. They're better than the Avatar and the Airbenders. These things are basically nature's cruise missiles with an appetite for bad decisions, which coincidentally is also my Tinder bio. And unlike my matches, these sharks actually show up. I'll just stay inside. My dude, these are tornadoes. You know, those famous respecters of property rights? Your little hidey hole has the structural integrity of my mental health during my finals week when I was in high school, which is to say, none whatsoever. And let's do some girl math right here, okay? Regular shark attack, like 90% survival rate. Regular tornado, 70% survival rate. Combine them, the numbers don't just drop, they straight up file for mathematical bankruptcy. It's like dividing by zero, but the zero is your chance of actually surviving. And your typical shark survival tactics, useless. Punch it in the nose, that's assuming you can even reach it while it's doing Mach 3 through your living room. Swim away, buddy. When sharks have mastered aerial warfare, your doggy paddle isn't exactly going to cut it. Even if you're some Sharknado survival expert, which I'm clearly not, and I know you're not. Like, what's your game plan here? The sharks are above you, below you, and probably doing synchronized swimming routines in your pool while waiting for you to make a run for it. It's basically Final Destination meets Shark Week, directed by Mother Nature during her villain era arc. If you think flying death fish are bad, wait until you see how your kid's iPad issues becomes a portal for something that makes Sharknadoes look like a SeaWorld petting zoo. Come plays what happens when technology decides, hey, let's add eternal damnation to the user agreement here. And like everyone else on Earth, the main character didn't read the terms and conditions either. The story follows Oliver, an autistic kid who uses a tablet to communicate, who let me say is already making better life choices than me, who uses technology exclusively to argue with strangers on the internet about pizza toppings at midnight. But then his tablet introduces him to Larry. And trust me, Larry isn't a normal guy. Just don't use screens. Right. And I'll stop breathing while I'm at it, because Larry isn't your standard turn it off and on again problem. He's what happens when the IT department gets possessed and somehow still provides better tech support than my internet provider. Why do I have 500 ping when I pay 200 bucks a month? It makes no sense. But here's the real kick in the motherboard, if you will. Larry can manifest through any screen. Your phone, your laptop, your IKEA smart fridge, basically everything except that Nokia 3310 buried in your drawer. When was the last time you weren't surrounded by screens? I'm surrounded by 5 right now. Yeah, it's that bad. This is concerning. And unlike the Ring's 7-day free trial of death, Larry's running on modern tech rules. No waiting, no buffering, just instant monster delivery, faster than your Uber Eats delivery app. He doesn't even need internet to connect. He's haunted the device. But the worst part, he doesn't want to kill you. He just wants to be your friend. This is what Larry looks like. Do you want to be friends with that? As someone whose closest relationship is with their Spotify algorithm, even I know this is a red flag. When your new bestie can turn your iPhone into a portal to hell, it might be time to join a club and meet some new people. If you think some sort of tech-savvy demon monster is terrifying, wait until you meet my imaginary friend. I'm not joking. Z is what happens when your kid brings home an imaginary friend, and instead of playing tea parties, it's let's reorganize the family photos into a summoning circle. And I thought my imaginary friend who only spoke in Taco Bell orders was concerning. My parents did too. He still exists though. He's right there. This movie hits different because it preys on something we all know. You can't win an argument with a child. I once watched my nephew debate why Minecraft should be considered a food group for 45 minutes. Now imagine that energy, but the kid's debate partner is literally supernatural and obsessed with the family. You just don't get it. It's just an imaginary friend. It can't do anything to you. It's not real. Well, Z isn't your standard under the bed monster. It's got a family legacy longer than my list of abandoned hobbies. This thing passes down through generations like trauma in a therapy session, except instead of emotional baggage, it's bringing actual murder. Here's the part that'll keep you up at night. Z doesn't just haunt your kid. It's playing 4D chess while you're still trying to figure out why your child is suddenly redirecting their room into an exorcism aesthetic. While you're Googling how to sell my possessed child and trying to get advice from your Facebook mom group, Z's already in your family and he's turning your family photos into his greatest hits of horror. He's got your kid painting demons on the wall and he's setting your house on fire. But the real kicker is when you try getting professional help. Picture explaining to a child psychologist that your kid's imaginary friend has a better long-term planning strategy than your retirement fund. I can barely explain to my doctor anything. Try explaining supernatural generational trauma that is an imaginary friend. But if you think a family destroying imaginary friend is rough, wait until your sister's apartment complex gets a demonic renovation from hell. Evil Dead Rise proves that demons finally discovered the housing market. They took one look at cabin prices and said, forget the woods, let's get that downtown high-rise murder view. Honestly, smarter financial planning than me in my early 20s. Why didn't I invest in Bitcoin when I was 4? I could have been a billionaire by now. Bitcoin, I don't like that stuff. And this isn't your standard cabin in the woods Evil Dead. This is what happens when supernatural entities get tired of rural life and decide to become urban professionals. Think less isolated horror and more demonic homeowners association. And you thought your building's pet policy was strict. Just leave the building and move out. Yeah, tell me you've never lived in an apartment without telling me. These demons spread faster than my student loan debt. And by the time you're reaching for your keys, your neighbors are already doing CrossFit with their own spines. And I thought my upstairs neighbors' 3 a.m. shenanigans were bad. But here's the real nightmare here. There's literally nowhere to run. Up, demons. Down, demons. Your neighbor's apartment? Well, Karen from 4B is currently using her intestines as fairy lights, so probably skip out on that floor. It's like the world's worst apartment viewing, and every unit comes with a complimentary procession and somehow still charges you a damage deposit. But the true horror here? In a cabin, you know your potential murderers. In an apartment building though, that's 200 strangers at least who could kill you before getting possessed. And then you have all of their friends and family that come over to visit them. That's a lot of people. And good luck with an emergency call. What's your plan? Call 911? Hey, yeah, my sister's doing her best exorcist audition and my nephew just turned the elevator into a meat smoothie maker. Let's be honest, half the people that rent out there can't even get their building manager to fix a leaky faucet. Try getting maintenance or the police to go and check up on a demon. But if you think demonic neighbors are bad, wait until depression gets an Airbnb in your head and decides to sublease it to something far worse. The Babadook is what happens when your mental health issues get tired of being subtle and decide to manifest as a Victorian gentleman who definitely shops at Hot Topic. Finally, depression with a sense of style, which is more than I can say because I own some really weird shirts. I own a shirt that literally just says Fortnite, Fortnite, Fortnite. I'm not joking. If this video gets 10,000 likes, I'll show it in another video. Most horror movies at least give you the dignity of running away. The Babadook though, this thing moves into your brain faster than my ex-wife Becky divorced me. Just get therapy, it'll definitely solve it. My brother in Christ, the Babadook is the therapy. If your therapist wore a top hat and showed you a director's cut of your trauma instead of asking how that makes you feel. But here's the real kick in the teeth here. You can't beat it, you can't banish it, you are stuck to live with it forever. The best you can do is negotiate shared custody of your consciousness like some sort of cosmic divorce settlement. And guess what? It gets weekends and holidays and every 3 a.m. when you're trying to sleep. The true horror hits when you realize this dapper nightmare is just your internal monologue putting on a costume. Imagine if every single negative thought you had of you watching right now instantly became a monster. The world would be over in like 5 minutes and nobody else gets it. Try explaining to your friends that your depression learned origami and started leaving pop-up book threats. I can barely convince people I'm fine when I am clearly not. Now imagine adding being haunted by a Victorian grief counselor from hell to that conversation. And also, imagine dealing with this. But if you think your mental health becoming a fashion-forward demon is bad, wait until a maternal instinct gets a horror movie makeover. Literally. Goodnight Mommy asks the question, what if your mom came home different? Not discovered healing crystals on Facebook different. We're talking something is wearing mom's skin as a trendy fall outfit different. And I thought my mom's essential oils phase was scary. Most kids worry about their mom finding their browsing history or their report card. Let me just say I did not know how to clear my browsing history till the age of 16. Yeah. These twins, though, they're playing the world's worst game of spot the difference, where losing means death and winning means, well, also death. Probably. It's like Home Alone, but if Kevin McAllister had an existential crisis instead of paint cans. Just call someone for help. They'll surely help you. Oh, sure. Let me just dial 911 and say, hi, my mom's acting sus, and not in the normal she posts minion memes on Facebook way. Let's be real. You're not going to be convincing any authorities that your mom is actually not your mom. But here's the real psychological gut pinch. You're trapped in a house with something that has access to your entire childhood highlight reel. It knows your favorite cereal, your imaginary friend's name, and that time you peed yourself at Disney World. Either that's still mom in there, or something's been taking better notes on my life than I ever did in school. But the true horror creeps in with the little things. The way she tilts her head, how she smiles a second too late. It's like someone learned human behavior from an AI that was trained exclusively on Christmas movies. It's a little too perfect. And your memories? Completely useless. Was mom always like this and you're just now noticing? Or is something wearing her face like a discount Halloween mask? But if you think family identity horror is rough, wait until Hollywood decides your soul is worth less than your Instagram follower count. Literally. Because starry eyes is what happens when I die for this job becomes less of a metaphor and more of the job requirement. Finally, a movie out there that makes my attempt at becoming a YouTuber look like a mentally stable career choice. Fun fact, it's not. This isn't your standard struggling actress meets creepy producer story. Though that's horrifying enough. Our girl Sarah discovers that the real price of fame isn't just your dignity and a soul-crushing Instagram addiction, it's your entire epidermis. Yeah, just don't take the role. Tell me you've never had imposter syndrome without telling me. When Hollywood offers to make you a star and it's the #1 thing you've wanted your entire life, are you gonna say no? A lot of people are gonna say, yeah, I'm gonna say no. But really, if you were in that situation, what would you do? But here's the real nightmare fuel. The physical transformation that they make you go through is just the appetizer. While most of us lose our minds for trying to get more than 12 likes on our Instagram posts, Sarah's literally shedding her humanity for IMDb credits. It's all the toxic influencer culture, but with a side of actual flesh melting. Turns out no pain, no gain hits different when your skin is doing a farewell Eras tour. Is this movie a metaphor for Taylor Swift? I don't know. Did I just piss off a lot of people saying that? I don't know anything about Taylor Swift, so please don't hurt me. The true horror though, everyone in the industry acts like this is totally normal. They're just casually like, we're gonna need you to metamorphose into an eldritch horror of pure ambition. Also, the rap parties bring your own booze. And all the while Sarah's thinking this is still better than her Yelp reviews from waitressing, so what's the real harm? But the most terrifying part, it's believable. In a world where people already sell their privacy, dignity, and breakfast choices for fame, watching someone literally molt their humanity for a leading role feels less like horror and more like a wannabe influencer success story gone wrong. But if you think Hollywood body horror is bad, wait until alien parasites make your entire town look like a dating app profile picture gone wrong. So there's what happens when aliens discover Earth and decide to turn your entire town into a big alien breeding ground. Yeah, but this isn't your standard Independence Day situation where the aliens have the decency to blow up landmarks. No, these parasites start with the local car dealer, Grant, a man so nice they named him twice, till he becomes something that makes my passport photo look flattering, and that's saying something. Just leave town. My brother in Christ, by the time anyone notices something's wrong, the whole population is already more connected than my desperate attempts at networking on LinkedIn. These slugs spread faster than my ex-wife Becky's Why We Broke Up story did on online. And that's with about the same amount of body horror. Here's the real nightmare fuel though. These parasites turn you into a walking, talking GPS for their meat-based social network. Imagine your entire town becomes a flesh Facebook where everyone's posting at once. And unfriending someone means literally splitting apart into two. But the truly messed up part, some people actually improve after infection. When your town drunk joins an alien hive mind and starts making better life choices than me, that's not just an invasion, that's a personal attack on my dignity. Though to be fair, even parasitic aliens would probably take one look at my life decisions and decide to find a better host, because let's be honest. And fighting back, please, these things are harder to get rid of than my commitment issues. They're like that one person who won't take the hint after a first date, except instead of sending you their Spotify playlist they made you, they're trying to absorb you into their collective alien consciousness. But if you think alien body horror is bad, wait until you see what happens when a boarding school's dark secret makes demonic possession look like a freshman orientation. I recently just watched this movie, and God, this is a good movie. The Black Coat's daughter is what happens when someone looks at a Catholic school and thinks needs more Satan. But this isn't your standard spooky boarding school story where the worst thing is Mystery Meat Monday. We've got two girls abandoned during winter break. Already a terrifying setup, but then something weird goes down. I can already see you saying, just leave the school. With what transportation? We're in the middle of a snowstorm. The power of positive thinking? The campus is empty. Nobody is there. It's the middle of winter. Nobody is coming to get you. But the real psychological gut punch here is the demon isn't the villain. Loneliness is. You literally watch this movie and watch someone choose possession over being alone. That hits pretty damn hard. Can you imagine being so lonely that you would rather be possessed by a demon so at least you had someone to talk about? I can relate to that. And that's not even a joke. But like, that's such a cool concept when you think about it. The true horror though is the long game this thing plays. While other movie demons are doing their best Linda Blair impression, this one's playing psychological chess with more patience than my mom waiting for grandkids. It's not happening, Mom. And don't get me started on the nuns. They're either completely oblivious or running history's worst after-school program. Today's lesson, advanced demonology. Remember, possession is just spicy mindfulness. It's kind of like praying when you think about it. But do you think Satan's boarding school is rough? Wait and see what happens when withdrawal meets possession. And hitting rock bottom means finding something worse underneath. The Evil Dead, released in 2013, isn't just a horror movie. It's what happens when rock bottom starts digging. And unlike my rock bottom moments, which usually just involves drunk texting my ex-wife Becky, this one comes with a complimentary demon who's ready to make this look like a spa day. But this isn't your standard cabin in the woods situation where the teenagers die because they're too horny. 5 friends show up for a DIY rehab, which is already a bad idea. Here's a pro tip though. When your recovery spot comes with a basement full of dead cats and a book that's literally screaming at you, maybe try something else. Just don't read The Evil Brook. My brother in trauma. We as a species still fall for the Nigerian prince emails. There's a reason that became a joke, because people fell for it and they still do. Of course someone's gonna read the human skin-bound diary. And unlike my poor life choices, which only haunt me at 3 a.m., these consequences are immediate, permanent, and involve the kind of body horror that would make a grown man cry. But here's the real psychological kick in the teeth. The demon specifically targets the person at their lowest, the person fighting addiction. They take the most broken of everyone around them and then possess them to do horrible acts. But the true horror, nobody believes you when you need help most. Everyone at your cabin is just like, oh, she's just going through withdrawal. She's gonna be a little upset. And while that's happening, she's experiencing things that would make Cthulhu file a complaint with HR. And escape? Please. This demon's got more ways to kill you than I have commitment issues. And that's saying something. It turns every injury into a death scene that makes my dating history look like a Disney movie. And that's why these movies have a 0% survival rate, no matter how built different you think you are. Hit subscribe if you survived this video, and then like the video and comment why you think you would survive any of these movies. I'd hear you out, but there's no way you're surviving. But if you want to see more movies that you definitely wouldn't survive, hit the playlist on screen right now for tons of my other videos on this topic.